more about strange tales from the Arabian Nights. Some of the stories of the Arabian Nights are so old that no one knows when they were first written down. They were told in the olden days around the shops and houses of Arabia. Many of them were first heard in Egypt or Persia, Turkey or India. Later they were called the Tales of 1001 Nights because they were so numbered in the storytelling of Shahrazad. She told about 300 tales, spreading them over many nights. Shahriyar the King. The lives of men who lived many years ago are a lesson to those who come after them. History teaches us much, so do the tales of the Arabian Nights, which are many. More about Shahriyar. Many years ago, there was a king of the East called Shahriyar. He had many soldiers and guards and servants and slaves, and a beautiful palace. He had everything that he could wish for. But he could not find a wife who was faithful and true. At last he thought he had found a woman who was good and faithful, but he was disappointed. He ordered his guards to behead her. Again, he found one who seemed to be faithful and true, but she also was a wicked woman. She was beheaded too. The king began to hate women and to say that he would kill them all one by one. Then all the people of his country took their daughters away and hid them, so that they would be safe from the king. No one wanted to marry him. The king at last ordered his chief vizier to go and search and not to come back until he had found a good wife for him. The vizier searched all over the country for days, but he could not find a wife fit for the king. He went at last to his home, afraid to return to the palace, in fear of what the king might do to him. Now the vizier had two daughters. His elder daughter was called Shahrazad, and the younger one was Dunyazad. Shahrazad was a reader of many books of stories and poems. She had read all the histories of the kings and peoples of the past. When she saw that her father was unhappy, Shahrazad said, "Father, what has happened to distress you?" Remember that one of the poets said, "Unhappiness like happiness will not last." "You try to comfort me, my daughter," said the vizier, "but I am much troubled. I cannot find a good wife for the king, and I fear he will behead me and so bring disgrace upon you all." Then Shahrazad said, "Oh father, give me in marriage to the king. If I die, I shall at least die bravely. If I live, then I shall prove to the world that I am good and true." Her father at first refused it. "But my child, the king is a cruel man. He may kill you as he killed others." "I do not think there is any danger of that," said Shahrazad. "Do you know the story of the ass and the ox?" asked her father. "I fear the same thing may happen to you, my child." "The story of the ass and the ox was like this," said the vizier to his daughter. "And what?" asked Shahrazad. "Was what? There was once a certain merchant who was like the other men in many ways, but he was different in one thing. He had been born with a knowledge of the language of the animals and birds. He could understand what they said to each other. His wife and children did not know of his extraordinary thing, and he knew he would lose this power if he told anyone about it. So they thought the merchant was just like any other man, and they all lived in wealth and happiness together on a farm in the country. The merchant had an ox and an ass among the animals on his farm, and the ox was jealous of the ass. The ass had a nice, clean, comfortable stable where he could lie all day at ease, but the ox had to work very hard in the fields. The master did not often ride the ass, but the ox had to plow every day and turn the mill without any chance to rest. One day the merchant heard the ox when he spoke to the ass. "Here am I, tired out by all my hard works," said the ox, "and here are you lying in your stable with your manger full of barley, resting on a warm bed of straw. It is not fair." The ass listened to the ox, and then he gave him some good advice? Next time they take you to the field and put the yoke upon your neck, lie down and do not get up, even if they beat you. When they bring you in and offer you some food, do not eat and pretend to be sick for a day or two. Refuse to eat, and then they will not make you walk. So do the ox followed the advice of the ass, and when the plowman came to feed him that evening, the ox ate very little. The next day he ate nothing, and then he lay down under the yoke, so that they thought he was very sick. Then the merchant said, "Take the ass and make him pull the pillow instead." The man did so. And when the ass returned at the end of the day, the ox went to his stable to thank him. But the ass did not answer. He was very tired after his hard work, and he wished that he had not given the ox such good advice. Early on the next day, the plowman again came to fetch the ass, and plowed with him all day until the evening. When the ass returned at last to his stable, his neck was sore from the yoke, and he was feeling very weak from his labors. The ox praised him for his good work and thanked him again for doing so much for him. The ass was not so pleased. "I was living at ease before. I should not have meddled with your affairs," he said. "But let me give you some more advice. I heard our master say, if the ox does not get well, then we will take him to the butcher to be killed. So I am a little fearful of what they may do to you." "Oh," said the ox. He thanked the ass for this new advice. "Tomorrow I shall go to work as fast as I can," he said. He went back to eat up all his food, and he even licked the manager. Meanwhile, their master, the merchant, had heard every word that they had said to each other. On the following morning, the merchant and his wife sat watching the ox eating at his manager. When the plowman came to take him to work, the ox saw that his master was. On the following morning, the merchant and his wife sat watching the ox eating at his manager. When the plowman came to take him to work, the ox saw that his master was watching him. He shook his tail and jumped and danced, and he showed in every possible way how young and healthy he was. The ox was so funny as he danced and jumped that the merchant laughed and laughed. He laughed so much that he fell over backwards. Why are you laughing so much?" asked his wife. "It is something I have heard and seen," said the merchant. "But tell me what it is," she insisted. "No, I can't tell anyone about it, or I must die," said her husband. "Then you must be laughing at me," his wife said, now very cross. "Tell me, even if you must die." She asked him again and again, and she would not stop worrying him all day. At last he was nearly out of his mind, because he knew that he could not tell his secret and live. But his wife was a stubborn woman, and he gave in at the end of the day. Then he called his children together, and he sent for a lawyer and witness, so that he might make his will. He had decided to tell his secret to his wife and die, for he loved her very much. She was the mother of his children, and they had all lived happily together for a long time. He then called all his neighbors, and he told them that he must die after he had told his wife a certain secret. "But how can you ask your husband to do this thing?" they said. "Surely you cannot let your husband die because of the secret." But her mind was fixed, and she would not give in. "He must tell me, even if he dies after it," she said. So they left her alone, and the merchant went to make his last farewells before he told the secret. Now the merchant had a cook and 50 hens and a dog. And as he walked past the dog, he heard him call to the cook, and the merchant stood still to listen. "Are you sad that our master must die?" asked the dog. "Yes," said the cook, "but he should have more since I have 50 wives, but I can keep them all in order. He has only one wife, and yet he cannot manage her. Why does he not take a stick and beat her until she repents? She would never ask him such a question again." When the merchant heard what the cook said, he decided that he would not die, but he would beat his wife instead. "Now," said the vizier to his daughter Shahrazad, "shall I do to you what the merchant did to his wife?" "And what did he do?" she asked her father. "He cut a branch of a mulberry tree and he hid it in his wife's room. Then he said to her, 'Come to your room, so that I may tell you the secret privately.' And when she had come in, he locked the door so that she could not get out, and he beat her until she cried out, 'I repent.' Then she kissed him and truly repented, and they went to tell the family, so that they all lived happily together forever after." But when the vizier's daughter had heard to the end of the story, she still said that she had not changed her mind. She had decided to marry the king. Now, while she was being dressed, so the vizier went to King Shahryar and suggested the marriage, and the king was pleased to agree. Now, while she was being dressed in her richest clothes to go to the palace, Shahrazad spoke quietly to her sister Dunyazad, "When I have gone to the king, I shall ask him if you may come to wait on me. When you have a chance, ask me to tell a story to entertain and amuse the king. Then I will begin a tale of interest and length, which may please and cheer him. In this way he may forget past unhappiness and let me live. He may also be curious to hear the end of my story." And it happened as Shahrazad had said. The king sent for his wife's sister, and he allowed Dunyazad to be her attendant at the palace from that evening. Now the king was a restless sleeper, always walking before the dawn. When he arose and gave orders to his viziers, they all feared what his comments for the day would be. Many a time someone would be beheaded early in the morning if they had offended the king. When Dunyazad saw how restless the king was, she said to her sister, "Oh, Shahrazad, tell us a story to pass the hours before the dawn." "I will most willingly," said Shahrazad to her sister, "if the king so pleases." King Shahryar was charmed with the idea of listening to a story, and so on the first night before the dawn, Queen Shahrazad began.